Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this, the 19th annual Mayor's Celebration of Diversity. I'm Fox 59's Fanchon Stinger.
And I'm Dan Spieler from Fox 59. We are so excited to be back to kick off and MC this great occasion. Every year, this event helps celebrate diversity, both in the workplace and throughout Indianapolis, by recognizing local employers who actively make an effort to demonstrate workplace equality and diversity in demographics like gender, age, race, and more.
That's right. Over the next hour, we're going to hear from 7 different speakers who are advocates for diversity, both in the workplace and in our neighborhoods. And we're going to be giving awards out to 4 local employers who have not only hired a diverse workforce, but they are actively pursuing company and community equity through the actions they are taking to create culture and a culture of inclusivity.
That's right. All of the funds raised for this event will go to Mayor Joe Hogsett's Project Indy initiative. Project Indy is a local-based youth jobs initiative that connects Indianapolis employers to job-seeking youth ages 16 to 24. It's a program that's currently in its 4th year with over 14,000 young adults signed up and 181 employers who've posted over 1,000 jobs.
Now, Dan, listen to this. According to a Drexel University study, findings show that work experience in a formal job during high school correspond to a 20 to 25% increase in salary for teens almost a decade later, and those who enter the workforce at a young age are more likely to be successful later in their careers. Project Indy is more than a job portal that keeps our young people busy during the summer months. No. It also teaches our young people the value of employability skills such as time management, organization, customer service, conflict management, and so much more. This hands-on approach allows our young people to begin building the professional skills and presence that enables them to thrive in their future careers. It also provides employers with the opportunity to both diversify their workplace, potentially build a talent pipeline, and expose current employees to opinions and thoughts of a different generation.
Yeah, our goal today is to raise money to keep this program going and to provide an informative, inspirational, and actionable approach to diversifying your organization from the inside out. And so we want to thank our title sponsor, Genesis, for making it possible.
Yeah, located in over 100 countries, I should say. Their mission is focused on corporate social responsibility through their Make a Difference employee-driven and employer-supported program. This gives employees the freedom to give back to organizations of their choice that they are personally engaged with by offering their time, their energy, and their goodwill.
So thank you to the team at Genesis for kicking us off and supporting this awesome program. Of course, they cannot do this alone. Thank you also to our bronze sponsors, F.A. Wilhelm Construction Company, Bose McKinney & Evans, LLP, the Etiquette Group, Indianapolis Neighborhood Housing Partnership, Taft HNTB Corporation, Keystone Group, Browning Investments, the Marion County Sheriff's Office, IU Health, Waste Management, Community Health Network's Office of Diversity and Inclusion, Powers & Sons Construction, Indiana Reclamation and Excavating, and Glick Arts.
So many people coming together to make this happen, and we want to say thank you to all of the other donors who have made this event possible. All right, right now, we have had donors already pledging to make sure that we take this over the top today. So donors have already pledged $79,290 to date to support the maintenance of Project Indy. So let's keep those numbers growing today during this program.
That is the goal. All you need to do right now is get out your phone and text MCOD 2020 to 243-725 and enter your donation. As funds come in, you'll see live updates right here on your screen. So stay tuned. Our fundraising goal for today is $100,000, and every penny counts.
And remember, every penny you donate, that goes to the future of our young people.
Right.
It's an investment,
It is.
not only in them, but also in our community. Now, without further ado, let's kick off today's program by thanking our silver sponsors. Without the support of Pacers Sports and Entertainment and Citizens Energy Group, this next video would not have been possible. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
This is our community, our dreams, our families, our hopes, our goals.
Here in Indy, we're pushing forward, rolling up our sleeves, having the hard conversations.
Putting our hearts on the line, and we're doing it together.
Dreaming together, working together, innovating together.
Siendo más fuertes juntos.
But our strength doesn't come from the few,
But from the many.
De hogar a hogar.
Family to family.
Person to person.
Generation
To generation.
We are in this together. We are Indianapolis.
Wow, that was powerful. I have chills just watching that. Indianapolis is definitely a beautifully diverse city, and it is so great to see our community members on the screen.
Can't think of a better way to celebrate the importance of community and diversity in Indianapolis. So our lineup of speakers today were chosen for their work, their passion, and their insight on how we can all engage all of our neighbors.
Yeah, you're going to be encouraged and you're going to be inspired today. Our next speakers are known throughout the community as workforce advocates, movers and shakers, if you will.
That's right. Employ Indy and the Indy Chamber are close partners that serve the business community and Indianapolis residents. Employ Indy is the organization that oversees Project Indy with a mission to provide youth with the skills to be successful in the workforce and create opportunities for all unemployed and underemployed residents to have equal access to resources and supportive services.
The Indy Chamber is the ultimate employer hub, if you want to call it that. They provide resources for members of the business community to improve their workplace, whether that means engaging a larger workforce, building a business from the ground up, or finding the perfect spot for relocation for organizations to become anchor institutions throughout the Indianapolis community.
Now let's welcome Angela Carr Klitzsch, the president and CEO of Employ Indy, and Michael Huber, the president and CEO of the Indy Chamber, to share some insight on where we are as employers and as a city, and some tips on what we can do to improve diversity, equity, and inclusion in our workplaces and neighborhoods.
I'd like to start by welcoming you all to the 19th Annual Mayor's Celebration of Diversity Awards. I'm thrilled to be here today as we honor companies who exemplify inclusion and diversity in the workplace, and as we learn about local tools, resources, and actions we can take to create a more inclusive environment.
It's impossible to honor this program without acknowledging what's happened in the last 6 months to our world and certainly to our city and our region and our business community. None of us could have seen a global pandemic coming, and yet it is inspiring to see the number of businesses supporting Mayor's Celebration of Diversity, supporting Project Indy, and creating opportunities for young people at such a critical time.
With more than 120,000 residents here in Indianapolis who've been displaced due to COVID over the last few months, all industries have been affected. But we see such a dislocation happening with hospitality, retail, manufacturing, healthcare, transportation. These are industries that have been dominated by youth and young adults who now do not have jobs.
Yeah, and Angie, a recent Pew Research Center report that you were kind enough to share with us showed that in looking at unemployment data in May, the unemployment rate for our young people was actually double the unemployment rate of the workforce, and including the industries that you just mentioned. So your support of this program is so critical right now.
Sure. And diversity is more just than youth and young adults. We're talking about individuals who are differently abled, those of different gender or race. We're talking about those residents that are re-entering our community from the criminal justice system. All of them have been disproportionately affected by this change in our labor market.
And we're entering a time in our history of our city and our region that we're seeing more and more businesses get it, that supporting diversity and supporting a more diverse workforce is not just the right thing to do, but it also can provide significant benefits for your company in the short and the long run. And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that so many resources in our own region exist for businesses who want to learn more about reaching out to diverse communities. Indianapolis Urban League, Indiana Black Expo, Indiana Latino Institute, Indiana Pride of Color, and many, many organizations like that.
That's right. As a small and medium-sized enterprise ourselves, we used an organization called Crossroads, and it really helped us develop the policies and practices needed in place to ensure that we're addressing systemic racism at Employ Indy.
And so it's such an interesting time at our country's history. We are all going to get through this. Some of the encouraging signs I see, like Angie mentioned, you've got a record number of businesses leaning in saying, we want to do what's right for our community, but our industry is changing. We want to get more diverse as an organization and as a business. And what I can say, and what I want to encourage all of you to do, is reach out a little bit farther. You literally will change a young person's life, but also if you're willing to support Project Indy, you will also expose yourself to broader and broader segments of talent that really can help your company in the long run.
It's a great honor to work with the Chamber and many others to create those tools and resources and make them available to businesses in our community who are committed to creating an inclusive and diverse workplace.
All right, thanks Angie and Michael for your insight on our economy and for the challenge that you presented to each organization represented here today.
Yeah, next up, we are going to hear from nationally recognized keynote speaker. You may have heard her name, Janet Stovall. She actually travels the country speaking and challenging individuals to recognize the need for diversity, equity, and inclusion in their day-to-day life and the ultimate power in having a diverse workforce.
We are so excited we can hear from her today and be inspired to take ourselves, our workplace, and our community to the next level. Janet, let's pass it on to you.
Before anyone ever called a school like Davidson College highly selective, I knew it was. I also knew that my background was a lot less privileged than many of my classmates. But I figured a shared commitment to the place, the mission, would level the playing field. I figured race, gender, social caste didn't really matter as much there. But on a spring day in 1982, I walked into some truth. And I got mad. I walked right into the Civil War. Now, that's not how my classmates saw it. They were not, as they explained to me, glorifying slavery. They were celebrating a time when chivalry was alive and women sat on wide porches sipping mint juleps. Now, we all know who built those porches, grew that mint, then made and served those juleps. And I never got over it. In fact, I followed what made me mad. And doing that has brought me here today to talk about something that makes me and probably most of you mad. Diversity, or rather the lack of it in corporate America. Following what makes me mad about that has turned me into something I like to call a diversity pragmatist. Someone who looks for objective ways to deal with some highly subjective issues. And right now, I stay pretty busy because right now, everybody is talking about diversity, specifically race. But why? And why in business? And what has any of this got to do with you? Well, there are 3 reasons why we should talk about race in business. First, business benefits. Ethnically diverse companies are 35% more likely to earn higher returns. Companies with ethnically diverse boards are 43% more likely to experience higher profits. Second, talking about the possibilities of diversity in general distracts from the realities created by ignoring race in particular. All diversity matters, but all diversity isn't created equal, which is why professional settings look a little bit like this. Business is simply more comfortable with some forms of diversity than it is with others. And the third reason why we need to talk about race in business is because that's where we can really start undoing the damage of racism. Think about it this way. The 25 biggest companies in this country employ over 6% of the workforce. 25 little microcosms with people of all different colors and ethnicities joined in one cause under a single banner, the company logo. And that's exactly why business is exactly the place where we most need to talk about race. After all, there are 157 million people in the U.S. workforce alone, people of all races, spending 1/3 of our lives united in the spirit of wanting a paycheck and having to show up to get it. But for business to actually make the difference it can make, there are a few things we must all accept. 3 truths. Systemic racism is real, and your company suffers from it. Inclusion is an ideal, but few companies actually practice it. And right now, people of color, especially Black people, are not okay, and you must pay attention to that. The lie? This will all blow over. It won't. So what does that have to do with you? What in truth can you do? Is this really your problem to solve? You bet it is. I've been writing for CEOs and city leaders for years. Haven't met any who didn't think diversity and inclusion are critical. Haven't met any who were happy about what their companies are doing or their cities are doing on that front, including your own. I'm sure you're all familiar with what your mayor said in 2016, and then a couple of weeks recently. 4 years ago, he acknowledged the need. A few weeks ago, he named the barrier to meeting that need. So let's examine what you can do individually and institutionally to dismantle that very same barrier. You start with yourself. Look inside and check your unconscious bias. Yes, you have it. It's those thoughts about people you didn't know you had, your blind spots. And you're not a bad person for having them. You're simply a person. Our brains process 11 million pieces of information per minute, but we're aware of only about 40 of those pieces. Only about 2% of our emotional cognition is available consciously. And our racial bias, well, it lives in our unconscious, where messages can be and are shaped to hit us, right there. Being conscious of your unconscious bias is the first step in overcoming it. So if your company offers some form of unconscious bias training, take it. If you're in charge of seeing to it that your company does, make it happen. Pay attention, use the tools, turn your unconscious bias into conscious inclusion. And that requires a second step, understanding what inclusion really is, or rather, what it isn't. It's not diversity. Diversity is something you have. Inclusion is something you do. Diversity is a numbers game. Inclusion is about impact. Diversity is a fact. Inclusion, well, it's a choice. Diversity requires intention to stop. Inclusion demands intention to start. Diversity is aspirational. Inclusion is actionable. And once you understand what inclusion is, the next step is understanding how it works. Well, there's one group of people who are always excluded, the invisible people. And that's what you make people, invisible, when you start saying you're colorblind, because you're not. You're not colorblind. Stop saying it. It's not true. It's not possible. And people of color hate hearing it. Because when you say you don't see color, what you're really saying is that you've decided not to see the things that accrue from color. Characteristics, traits, nuances, histories that people of color want you to see, that we think are important and beautiful. So colorblind is really just color biased. Try being color brave instead. Embrace the unique characteristics that are developed as a result of this thing that we call color. because that's the first step in becoming an ally. Allyship is always on. Allyship adapts to the situation at hand, but all allyship starts with being able to see and then talk about race. And for many of us, that's scary. But I'm going to help you do it. You start by asking. Don't assume you know the lived experience of anyone else. Trust me, you do not. Ask somebody. And then absorb what they have to say and listen. Really listen. And then you accept that what they say is true. I didn't say acknowledge, I said accept. Because then you have to adjust your own beliefs, accepting that what they are is just that, beliefs, not truths, beliefs. And then, only then, articulate. Listen, Black people talking to other Black people about Black people is necessary for survival. But white people talking intelligently, informedly to other white people about Black people is necessary for change. It's about being intentional, consciously, actively, consistently, intentionally rejecting racism. It's not enough to say and not enough to be not racist. As your mayor said, you don't get a participation ribbon in the fight against injustice. You have to be anti-racist. When people like us, the ones who lead the teams, run the companies, and make the laws, decide to be intentional, things happen. The needle moves. And then business, more than any other institution, taps into its superpower to dismantle racism. But unlocking that power calls for three things: identifying real problems, assigning real measures, instituting real consequences. And the operative word is real. Real problems. Those are the things that diversity can really solve, uniquely. In any good business decision, the first question before deploying any resource is, what are we solving for? Diversity, racial diversity, is a resource. It's an asset. The question is, how are you using it? If you have not identified the problems diversity solves in your organization, then you are not making the most of it. In inclusive companies, real problems are the ones that leverage diversity to address real issues. And real issues are measured with real numbers. Forget about aspirational goals. Do you have aspirational sales goals? Aspirational production goals? No. You have metrics that make sense. Metrics that mean something. Metrics that align with your strategic goals. But what if we assign metrics like that to inclusion? What if we set inclusion goals, establish benchmarks, moved beyond short-term linear assessments to really understand the value that inclusion brings? One thing we know for sure: what gets measured gets done. And we also know that what is incentivized is prioritized. As important as measuring is, measures don't matter if consequences don't count. In business and life, people do what they are incentivized to do, period. Start attaching bonuses or bye-byes to inclusion metrics and watch what happens. Inclusion is no different than any other business imperative. What if we treated it like one? Ask yourself this: what if business stopped admiring the problem of diversity and got focused on inclusion? What if organizations stopped waiting for inclusion to sprout organically and started nurturing it intentionally? What if the world of business could finally see that we, more than any other entity, can actually do something to solve the world's biggest problem? I believe we are the ones our companies, the city, and this world have been waiting for. I believe we are the ones who can turn this moment into a movement. And I believe we are the ones who can unleash the power of business to unlock the true power of diversity. Thank you.
You know, the way she speaks with such passion and such drive, I think challenges me, challenges all of us to think differently about how each person can affect their immediate workplace culture. Janet's offering some insights there into some practical steps that we can take as individuals to influence change within our organizations and the businesses that we're a part of.
Yeah, it really is an intentional choice that we all have to make each and every day. So it's making me actually think of the small steps, the tiny steps that we can do that add up to the larger impact within our own workplace and really within our neighborhoods.
So speaking of impact, thanks to those of you who are donating today and to everyone who's watching and contributing. Every dollar truly does make a difference, and we're excited to see where we will be at the end of the event today.
Coming up next, we're going to hear from someone whose name, well, you're bound to recognize as one of our hometown heroes, quite literally, and a local business owner. Let's welcome Tamika Ketching.
Tamika is the owner of a small local business, Tease Me Cafe Indy, just north of downtown, and she's going to be sharing her passion for working with youth and the true impact of a diverse workforce.
Hello, everybody. I am so excited to be a part of the 19th annual May celebration of diversity. And I mean, just to look at all of the different categories, all of the amazing companies, organizations, businesses, all of that, entrepreneurs, all of you guys, just to be recognizing you today, what an honor. I know for me personally, I dreamed about being a professional athlete, but as far as like being an entrepreneur, a business owner, a philanthropist, owning my own business, I mean, I never really dreamed about that, but I can honestly say like my first real job, I worked for my father way back when in Chicago. And then when I got to the University of Tennessee, I had an opportunity to work at the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. And my passion has always been youth and being able to give them opportunity. I think for all of us and for all of the amazing things, I know the big theme is we're in this together. And it really is going to start with our youth. It's really going to start with giving them the opportunity to get all of the small skills, the little skills that they need to be able to prosper and grow. My philosophy now, and being an owner at Tease Me Cafe Indy, and even in my role as the vice president and general manager, Deanna Fever, my main focus and one of the things that I always talk about is just opportunity. And from the tea shop standpoint, you know, I always talk about the cafe and being able to hire young people and being able to expose them to different environments that they might not have ever had the opportunity to. So I always look at like, you know, just the nature aspect of it. And, you know, when you look at being able to work at Tease Me, it's a small cafe, it's really tight knit. We, you know, have a really close family, and it's almost like operating in a pond. From a family standpoint, you know, you think about pond, and, you know, for all of us, we get to put whatever we want in the pond. We could put fish, we could put flowers, we could put whatever type of nature we want. We could grow some things around it. Like we get to control our pond. But then when I look at our youth, and especially our young people, when they graduate from high school and having operated in the pond and being able to learn how to operate in the pond, the next step for them is moving to the lake. And in college, that's what I look at. I think about a lake. Same thing, it's a little bit bigger than the pond, but there's a little bit more fish, there's a little bit more diversity, there's a little bit of all these other things that are put in it. But, you know, once again, you move from the pond to the lake, it's still a controlled environment because you're still in a college, university, or, you know, whatever situation you're in, you're still kind of in a controlled environment. But then here's the big part. So you go from the pond to the lake, and then eventually you get to the ocean. And we all know what the ocean is like. It's this big, gigantic, like mass. It's just massive. But there's sharks and whales and dolphins and all types of like really cool things in the ocean. But it can be scary. It can be dangerous. And I think that all of us, we have the opportunity to be a pond. My passion is youth and developing them and being able to provide them opportunities. And when I think about diversity, I not only think about race and gender, but most importantly, my mind goes to our youth and our young people, and really being able to expose them and being able to give them opportunity. So I think like this is an amazing award, just looking at being able to serve, being able to engage, being able to make a difference together, and really trying to help bring up our young people. So you go from the pond to the lake to the ocean. And all of us, we have to work together to make this ocean and this pond and this lake effective for all of the young people that we get to serve. So I'm excited, I'm honored, I'm thankful for each and every single one of you. And to all of the award recipients, you guys truly deserve this. And let's not just stop here. Let's keep this thing going. We are always in this together. We got a lot of work to do, especially coming off of the pandemic and all the social injustice that we've been dealing with. But when you look at our world, when you look at what we're trying to do and how we're trying to all bring this together full circle, it's going to take each and every one of us. It's going to take having a diverse group of people that can come together for a common cause. And this is what we get to do together. Thank you. God bless. I hope you guys have an amazing year. And hey, we're in this together. That's how we win. God bless.
Well, thank you so much, Tamika. Tamika's a good friend. She also always has a kind word and an encouraging sentiment to share. You know, it was great to hear the perspective of a local employer, especially who is passionate about using their own platform to work with our young people to impact our larger community.
You can check out the bottom of the screen right now for our most up-to-date donation count. Empowering right now to see all the donations as people are supporting the Project Indy Youth Jobs Portal today. Great job to everybody helping out. Remember, all you need to do is text MCOD 2020 to 243-725 to submit that donation.
And every single donation not only helps young people, but it really impacts all of us as a community. Because when one of us wins, we all win.
We all win.
Well, I'm excited to see what can be possible with the funds raised today. Donations made help connect those ages 16 to 24 in Marion County to employers who are hiring right near them, where they live and where they go to school. The portal was developed to help those who may have transportation barriers, help them discover employers in their vicinity.
Up next, we're going to hear from Dr. Sean L. Huddleston, the president of Martin University and the previous chief diversity officer at the University of Indianapolis. Dr. Huddleston is locally recognized for his supportive work on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Today, we will hear from him about actions that many businesses can take to ensure that workplace equality is a foundation of their work culture. Dr. Huddleston, take it away.
Hello, my name is Dr. Sean Huddleston, and I bring you greetings from Martin University, Indiana's only predominantly black institution where I proudly serve as president. I am thrilled to be with you today at the 19th Annual Mayor's Celebration of Diversity. Although we've shifted to a virtual celebration, the meaning and importance of this event is as essential now as ever before. We celebrate diversity because we know that organizations and teams made up of people with different cultural backgrounds, identities, and experiences have proven to be more successful than those that are homogenous. We also know that diversity alone is simply not enough. Without an intentional focus on inclusion and equity, diversity simply becomes a reality as opposed to an asset. I've spent my entire career working to master the science and art of organizational diversity, equity, and inclusion. This work has focused on helping organizations find and implement solutions. The truth of the matter is there's no one right answer. However, there are a few tried and true actions I believe any organization can take to intentionally make diversity, equity, and inclusion a cultural reality and competitive advantage. In 2011, social scientists at Stanford University introduced the concept of collective impact. The method was designed to bring people and resources together when large-scale social cultural change is needed. In some cases, collective impact has helped change communities by addressing issues like hunger or poverty or systemic bias or racism. In other cases, the focus has been on sectors like education or business or even government. But regardless of the setting, collective impact provides a framework for organizations to follow. This is especially important when high-stakes topics like diversity, equity, and inclusion are challenged or they present opportunities for greater success. So let's dive into collective impact just a bit more. collective impact consists of 5 conditions that must be met. The first is having a common agenda. For diversity, equity, and inclusion, this means achieving buy-in so that everyone in the organization understands the need for change, the value proposition that they bring, and the solutions needed for improvement. The second condition for collective impact is having a shared measurement tool. This helps to determine and communicate how diversity, equity, and inclusion success will be measured and reported. Now, I personally recommend including and reporting these measures with other important organizational success indicators to emphasize their importance and their alignment with all other strategic goals. The third condition is to ensure that all diversity, equity, and inclusion activities are mutually reinforcing. This means that efforts must be coordinated and collaborative. For example, recruitment efforts to create a more diverse workforce have limited success if retention efforts are not as rigorous. The same holds true for supplier diversity initiatives. All efforts should be strategic, integrated, and create a seamless experience. The fourth condition for collective impact, continuous communication. This helps to proactively address issues, build trust, and encourage intercultural development. The formation of culturally focused employee resource groups is a good example of a strategy that can help engender continuous communication with employees that may not always feel included or experience inequities. Additionally, including organizational diversity, equity, and inclusion information on your website or on your intranet helps everyone become informed and promotes these efforts as an organizational priority. The final condition for collective impact is backbone support. Now, this means that diversity, equity, and inclusion must be supported from the very top of the organization. But additionally, leaders within the organization should be identified and assigned to help champion the efforts for the entire organization. As a former Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, I can't emphasize how important this is enough. I should, however, note that the backbone support and leadership you have identified should not be responsible for just owning all the efforts on their own. The role and approach should actually be focused on franchising diversity, equity, and inclusion so that everyone becomes good owners and authors of the organizational culture. When businesses and organizations take the collective impact approach to advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion, their organizations improve their processes, increase their bottom lines, and get every employee to find a way to get a sense of belonging. Martin University's new Center for Racial Equity and Inclusion will launch in early 2021, and we'll offer more information on operationalizing collective impact for diversity, equity, and inclusion success. I look forward to sharing more as we near that launch. Thank you for your time and attention, and please enjoy the rest of this wonderful celebration.
Thank you so much, Dr. Huddleston, for your encouragement, your insight, and also the challenges that we can all put into practice as we continue to learn how we as individuals and as organizations can impact how we successfully execute inclusive environments.
All right, so up next, we want to share a conversation with Derris Ross, the founder of the Ross Foundation, a local grassroots nonprofit located on the Far East Side.
They are doing incredible work. During this pandemic, listen to this, tens of thousands of young people, of course, have lost their jobs and are struggling to make ends meet. Well, uniquely, the Ross Foundation has continued to hire throughout the last 6 months and is one of the local organizations that exemplifies the importance of engaging and supporting our young people, especially during this trying time.
So after this clip, you'll hear again from Employ Indy's Angela Carr Klitzsch as we continue to raise money for a program that employs thousands of youth in Indianapolis. Even now, employers are still posting jobs and seeking young people for employment. So let's get started.
Yeah, my name is D. Ross. I go by D. Ross. I'm the founder and CEO of the Ross Foundation. Our mission is to take the community out of survival mode into thriving mode by creating effective youth programs, repairing our communities, and developing leaders. I was born and raised on the far east side of Indianapolis, on 42nd and Post Road. If you know about that area, that's one of the most high crime areas of the highest homicides, has the biggest food desert on that side of town, and also has the biggest population of felons coming home. And so growing up on 42nd and Post Road, I lost 40 friends to gun violence. And I was a leader of a gang. And I changed my whole life around, started my own nonprofit organization to break that cycle of generational trauma and poverty in our communities. And so that's how the Ross Foundation came into existence in 2014. And we've been doing phenomenal things ever since, and really restoring hope back into a hopeless community. Right now we have 5 programs currently running. We have and then, you know, I like to go back. Our 5 pillars is youth empowerment, advocacy, crime prevention, community wellness, and emergency response due to COVID-19. We added that last pillar. And so that is interconnected to our programs we created to meet those pillar needs. The first program we have is called the BASIC program. Building alternative solutions in the community. It's a crime prevention program that was a recipient of the Office in Public Health and Safety grant in 2018 for $60,000. And then we also have a youth council. It's called Our Youth Matters Youth Council, where we teach youth how to change local government, how to be activists and leaders in their own community, how to make a difference in their own neighborhood. And then we have a mother support group for mothers who lost a child to gun violence. It's a unique support group where mothers is helping mothers. We have psychologists, and we also have a private investigator, and we also have a program coordinator, and they all happen to be mothers. And so it's a sisterhood we created with them. And then we have the only Indianapolis tenants rights union in the city. And we really do things around tenant advocacy, especially when people are being evicted out of their homes during COVID, or unlawfully being put out of their homes, not knowing their rights, not knowing the executive orders or laws. Is more prevalent right now than anything today to make sure that these residents know their rights. It doesn't matter what you look like, what your background is, what your religion is. We want to work with every tenant in Marion County. And throughout the year, we do annual events. We do back-to-school giveaways, toy giveaways, Easter egg hunts, peace marches, peace rallies. And we call this our community wellness events. And basically, we're just here to not ask for anything, just to give, just to let them know that we're here and we love you, we care about you guys, and we want to make sure that we are building that relationship with you guys. And what we do is, this is connected to our call center, is we do intakes at each one of our events, and where we figure out why they come in and need assistance in the first place. We don't want to just put a Band-Aid on things. We want to actually heal the wound. And so within 48 hours to 96-hour turnaround, our call center, which is led by our young people between ages 16 to 24, which in partnership with Employee Indy, we were able to bring it to fruition, able to provide jobs and create opportunities where they can get different skill sets and certifications that they can use for the rest of their life. So with the call center and how its breakdown is, we really thought it was imperative to have something in place in response to COVID-19. We were able to, in the past 3 months, reach over 7,000 people. And that's a phenomenal number. And so the impact it is having in our community is we're actually hiring people from that community, from the Far East Side community to work these jobs. We're keeping them out of the streets, keeping them safe. They are able to work remotely and still work their other jobs. We're keeping them employed. And we're keeping them stable. My advice to any companies or organizations looking to recruit young people into their establishment, really be open. And don't really just hone in on your practices is the best way. When you're hiring young people, you have to be able to adapt and say, okay, we want you guys to step into this leadership role as well. We want you guys to really embody the company and organization mission and values. And so that means they have to be at the table as well when we're talking about how can we improve? What things can we do better? How can we be more innovative? Don't shut them off or shut them out. They really have the ability to take your organization and your company to another level of innovation. And we have to stop really not overlooking that ability and looking at it as a gift. And a lot of these young people have these gifts. It's time for us to expose those gifts and recognize those gifts and acknowledge them. Embrace them, don't judge them, and love on them.
First, I want to thank you for your commitment to young people here in Indianapolis. All funds from this event support Project Indy, the Mayor's Youth Summer Jobs Program. And we are excited to be able to connect young people to employers and employers to young people who are job ready and excited and hungry for the opportunity. As the effects of COVID-19 continue, we see many temporary and permanent closures of companies, and many young people in our community now are no longer employed. Research would suggest that young people who are born into poverty stay in poverty, and all jobs are not created equitably across the spectrum. Many young people, particularly black males, 16 to 19, are 10 times less likely to be employed right now than their white counterparts. Young people are the future of Indianapolis, the future of our workforce, and the future of our neighborhoods. Creating pathways for young people to get the requisite job skills needed to take advantage of the opportunities in the economy is an important next step for our community to recover due to COVID. Your donations support Project Indy, and we can't do it without your help. Thank you so much for your continued efforts to subsidize work experiences for young people. At this time, we'd love for you to donate and text us at MCOD 2020 243-725. That's MCOD 2020 texted to 243-725. Since its inception over 4 years ago, over 15,000 Marion County residents have been connected to employment opportunities through Project Indy. Please help us continue to support young people in our community and the employers who are hungry for the talent.
All right, I couldn't have said it better myself. So many great messages here this morning.
And look at these donations that are starting to come in. They're continuing to roll in. So thank you for all of your donations. Please consider how you may be able to invest. Just search your heart. If you feel an inkling to give, please give. And as a reminder, all you need to do is text MCOD 2020 to 243-725. That's 243-725.
So excited about the financial support and the goodwill being offered by the people of Indianapolis who've been joining us today. I want to make a quick shout out as well. All employers looking to hire youth can go to projectindy.net today to set up an employer profile and start hiring young people in our city.
You know, our young people want to work.
That's right.
They want to get out there and get some experience. So thank you to all of you who are putting our young people to work and giving them something to aspire to. You know, Project Indy was launched in 2016 by Mayor Joe Hogsett with a vision to establish unique employment pathways for young people. Mayor, take it away.
Good morning. I'm Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett, and I want to thank you all for tuning in to celebrate the 19th Annual Mayor's Celebration of Diversity Awards. Thanks to all of today's previous speakers for joining us, especially our keynote, Janet Stovall. This year we gather virtually. The 19th Mayor's Celebration of Diversity is taking place under very different circumstances than did the 18th. Nonetheless, it is critical we take time to celebrate our community's commitment to diversity. This year, amidst a nationwide demonstration, our cause has been given added urgency. For those who previously could not or would not see the harm done by a lack of diversity in our public and private institutions, that harm is more difficult than ever to ignore. The conversation is happening all around us. It is occurring in nearly every industry and is part of many of the day's major headlines. For us today, an important part of that conversation is how we are preparing Indianapolis for a more diverse and prosperous future. For that reason, I want to acknowledge the work of Project Indy and local employers like Tease Me Cafe. Together, we have created a youth jobs program that has exposed so many young people to the soft skills and the experience that they'll need for successful careers as adults. By providing early job experience, Project Indy isn't just getting extra money into the pockets of young adults. It is providing an on-ramp towards a profession, a good wage, and a solid foundation to excel and advance. That is especially true for the thousands of young people of color who have taken advantage of this program. As a pandemic and an economic crisis are making very clear, we still have a long way to go to achieve equity of opportunity. Hard times are hitting different neighborhoods in different ways. We must work to provide the tools of success for the families and the households that have been historically denied access. Today, we celebrate the businesses and nonprofits who are already leading the way toward a diverse and prosperous Indianapolis. So congratulations to all of today's winners. Your example guides us to a better city for all. I thank you.
All right, thanks, Mayor Hogsett. The need for an expanded understanding of diversity is not limited by industry, employer, or organization. So we're so encouraged to meet this challenge today and fully support our neighbors, to soak in some of the opportunities, to implement inclusion and diversity strategies in our workplaces.
Yeah, so today we have learned how we as individuals and as organizations can take action. Well, now is the time we are going to recognize a handful of special businesses throughout Indianapolis who really exemplify strategies and best practices for celebrating and supporting their diverse members.
All right, so the award categories include diversity in leadership, diversity in workforce, excellence in youth employment, and the Sam H. Jones Best of the Best. And it's our pleasure to share with you now the 19th Annual Mayor's Celebration of Diversity Award recipients.
All righty, up first, let's start with the Diversity in Leadership Award. This award celebrates an organization who cultivates an atmosphere of growth, particularly when considering upper-level diversity as well as actively supporting a diverse organizational culture. The winner has created and implemented strategies that provide opportunities for employees to engage and feel valued within their workplace.
So this year's award recipient provides an atmosphere of growth in upper-level diversity and actively supports a diverse organizational culture by providing quarterly highlights to the Board of Directors to update them on the progress of their key components of their strategic plan when it comes to diversity and inclusion.
The value of diversity is a focus of this organization's core leadership curriculum that prepares leaders to be role models of the organization's values. Centered around the value of diversity, their impressive content includes modeling the way, building strong relationships, connecting and engaging with others, respecting differences, fostering teamwork, and, most importantly, celebrating success. So, congratulations to Citizens Energy Group.
All right, up next, let's recognize the recipient of the Diversity in Workforce Award.
This award celebrates an organization who in the past year successfully implemented best practices to support workforce diversity. The employer has actively promoted opportunities to engage and recognize diversity within their place of business.
Within the last year, this group has utilized a program that's proved career development, education, and resources to 100% ethnically diverse minority groups, providing those rewards. The program gives individuals the chance to expand their job skills, providing access to resources for better job creation, and named to empower Latin communities at its inception. It's now grown to support other ethnic groups as well. So congratulations to
the Morales Group. And now let's recognize the recipient of the Excellence in Youth Employment Award. This award is given to an organization that has shown commitment to offering several youth and young adults in Indianapolis the opportunity for that first job, embracing a culture that promotes personal growth through mentoring and advancement.
This year's recipient has shown a real commitment to offering youth and young adults in Indianapolis the opportunity for their first job, embracing a culture that promotes the personal growth of those individuals through mentoring and advancement.
While attending teen job fairs, they promote careers in the trades versus college degrees and provide an avenue to a successful career path. They strive to show kids and our teens how construction can be a very reliable option for their future.
So congratulations to
U.S. Hydrovac, Inc. And last, but certainly not least, the Sam H. Jones Best of the Best Award. This award is named in honor, of course, of the Indianapolis Urban League's first president, a tireless advocate for peace, justice, and racial understanding.
The recipient of this award is recognized for exemplary performance in all aspects of diversity. So to be considered, an individual must exemplify all the characteristics from both the Diversity in Leadership and Diversity in Workforce Awards.
This year's recipient is an organization that has shown exemplary performance in all aspects of diversity. First, the Diversity in Leadership, which comprises of 56% people of color. Then, their Diversity in Workforce, which represents their community with a variety of backgrounds and ages, from elders serving families to an immigrant from Senegal. They embody, they value, and foster diversity at every level.
Their advocacy for peace, justice, and racial understanding started with their 3-day anti-racism training, which flowed into their staff and board, identifying programs, systems, and procedures that needed to be changed to be a more inclusive and welcoming culture. After this effort, they adopted a new mission, vision, and values, as well as charting a long-term course, identifying 3 key program components that will be a part of all programming: equity, restorative practices, and social emotional learning. So congratulations to
Peace Learning Center.
Well, now let's hear from Peace Learning Center's staff as they accept this prestigious honor.
I hope the world is kind. I want a world where everyone has what they need. We want a future where no one will be judged by the color of their skin.
Our vision is a healed world where strong and caring communities strive together to fully live in peace. We are grateful to the generations of people who have come before us, leading the way in the movement of human rights.
Systemic racism, as well as all other inequities and their adverse effects on people, are among the greatest things we have to deal with in our city and in our country. And to that end, we must focus the lens of equity on our institutions, their practices, policies, procedures, as well as ourselves. Now, this work can be difficult and hard and complicated, but it's work that must be done with the urgency of now.
Being brave to challenge and create new models of what our world can look like, even when it may not be popular.
We invite everyone to join us in walking this path to address injustice and building a place of community where everyone feels safe, valued, and loved.
Thank you for this award. We appreciate the recognition of our work and will use it to redouble our efforts to build an anti-racist institution that promotes healthy, thriving communities.
All right, again, congratulations to the Peace Learning Center on this amazing accomplishment today. Our time is getting short here, so we want to pass it off now to our final speaker, Angela Smith-Jones, the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion for Health and Hospital Corp., the previous Deputy Mayor of Economic Development for the city.
Angela will be sharing the importance of diversity and inclusivity, narrowing in on how it relates to our current racial climate. She'll be sharing actionable next steps and really diving into how we can all challenge and improve ourselves and our organizations as a workforce and as a community.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for the Mayor's Celebration of Diversity. Today has been a very interesting day and very exciting day at the same time. I'd like to congratulate all of our nominees and a special congratulations to all of the award winners. We are in unprecedented times, as we all know. This is a time that no one alive has ever seen. So much is going on in our world, in our state, and in our city. And so to have these special recognitions really means a lot at this time. I am very encouraged that we are continuing to lean ahead and look forward to what the city has in store for us. And I really want to impress upon those of you who have won the awards today and those of you who are joining us today virtually to look inward and to see what can we do to move the ball forward even further. I think there's really two charges for us: to lead with love and to lean in. And with that, I mean all of you leaders. And if you're sitting watching this virtual award ceremony, you are a leader. I think each leader needs to lean in and make a commitment to doing all that he and she can do in their own space to have a positive impact on our world with regard to diversity, equity, and inclusion of all. And I think it's critically important that we lead with our hearts with compassion, to really know and have empathy towards those who are our friends, our colleagues, our coworkers, and really have a commitment to doing what it takes on our own journey and in making the journey better for those of us who live and work here. And lastly, while we're leaning in hard with our hearts and with compassion, it's so important to be creative and innovative and look at ways that you can make an impact that you never imagined that you could, and embrace it. It's going to be uncomfortable at times, but that's okay. I think we need to just be comfortable being uncomfortable and knowing that at the end of the day, this long journey that we are embarking, we're all going to win, and we're going to make this a much better place, much better city, state, country, and world. And so again, I am thrilled to congratulate all of the winners and the nominees. Thank you all for joining us, and let's go full speed ahead to make an impact for good.
The passion exemplified throughout this entire event has challenged so many of us. It's challenged me to examine my own ability to impact and set an example for racial justice, for peace, for equity throughout our city and beyond.
Yeah, I definitely agree, Dan. You know, there is an opportunity here to take everything that we've heard, everything we've seen, and to make a commitment to act on it. There are so many resources available to us for both personal and professional use. You know, I truly appreciated hearing from people with such drive, such dedication to improving company cultures and also individual mindsets.
So if you feel inspired, check out the resources on the slides after we say goodbye. And remember, after this event, you can still donate to Project Indy. All you have to do is go to employindy.org/donate and select Project Indy. Thank you so much to Genesis, our title sponsor, and to all of our donors today. We are thrilled by all the money that we've raised.
Great big thank you once again. Unfortunately, that is all of the time we have today. We do hope that you are leaving with a renewed sense of passion, togetherness, and that you take the challenges and the action items shared today back to your workplace, back to your neighborhood, back to your community and your family.
Take care. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.